Welcome to Living the Dream Iowa Life. I'm your host, Hannah Nuss, and each weekday we'll share enthusiasm for what's possible and dive into the stories of Iowans living their dream lives right here in the heartland. Whether you're chasing a big goal or just looking for a little inspiration, we've got you covered. Let's change the world together. This is Living the Dream Iowa Life. Let's go. Heyo, welcome to Living the Dream Iowa Life podcast. I have to not sing because I sing things in the coffee shop. I'll be like, welcome in, how's your day going? Usually I'm not doing that, but sometimes I'll sing an order back, just like that, not actual singing. And then I stop myself and I remind myself, this is public. This is not your podcast where people maybe like you more than the average bear because they've come to know you. This is just the real world. These quirky, strange things aren't necessarily appreciated. Anyways, I'm going to do it anyways. Welcome to the Living the Dream Iowa Life podcast. And then that's usually how I'll sing a coffee order, or I'll do it in my shop. And can't be stopped. I can't. So welcome. Today we are talking about what is the truth of the message? And this has been one as I've taken this little yellow book into the world, which has been such a privilege, that I come back to all of the time. Because when I wrote this book, and I was explaining this during an author talk last night, when I wrote this book, I didn't know how to write books. The last thing I had written was a college essay, maybe my dissertation for my master's degree. Very technical writing. Not expansive and creative, not finding a flow or an act or story development. I wanted to write words. And someone had asked, how did you know that this book was done if you had written it and rewritten it so many times? And I said, it was in the finally having a discipline for the writing. So I call this a writing sprint, where I put the number on the board that I want to get to, break that down by 30 and write that many words a day. And for that first book, that was all I knew how to do. And most importantly, it really was about the discipline of writing, the discipline of understanding how to do something like that. It wasn't about anything other than that. I'm going to turn on the fan for my children. Boop, doop, doop. It wasn't about anything other than that. I needed to understand how to just write the words in a rhythm. In a rhythm that just allowed me to get the first project done. I didn't know about developmental editors. I didn't know about anything except for my English teacher experience where red pen ruined my life. That was it. That was the only editors that I understood. That was all that I knew for that first book. And parts of me wished that first book was a New York Times bestseller. Like that I was a scholarly genius to begin with. That when I wrote my first word, the whole world was standing and applauding. Hannah, write words, write words. Wrong. Do you know how I figured out how to write? I didn't even take a bunch of courses. I just wrote. I would wake up, write for my social medias, speak for my social medias, then just put it out there. Sometimes I'd write blogs. Eventually I got there. But in the very beginning, when I said that I wanted to be a writer, I started by writing a couple of sentences on social media and getting those wildly wrong and misspelling things and writing things all kinds of backwards in a way, in a rhythm that makes no sense to human beings. I didn't understand how to do these things, but over time I kind of found my voice, my rhythm, the play of the voices inside of my head, and making sure that that was kind of known, that there was always this kind of devil on my shoulder speaking to me. I did not kind of make that prominent in that first book. I think that the rhythm of the words were there, but you couldn't really tell what was my voice and what was just common thought. And so, do I want to go back and edit it and make it better and make this 7-book series a drop dead literary killer? No. I want that book to be my truth. I want you to see the evolution of a writer. I want you to experience what it's like. Like, I'm not building this from something that already exists. There were not people writing that Hannah should be a writer. No one. I would not even say, even in my initial Facebook posts that I did for about a year, very few people reacted. Most people would just send me spelling errors. Most people would kind of just tell me that I'm doing a great job, but never click that like button. But they would repeat some of the words that I wrote back to me and say that that really helped them without publicly making that known. They would kind of tell me, in hallways quietly, Hannah, your writing has really helped me. I love the way that you said that. I really felt that moment, that impact, what you were feeling there. I felt it too. And I'm like, did you? So much that you actually just put a little heart on it? No? Cool. Thanks for letting me know in secret. That's really helpful. And it was, but at the same time, it's like, this can't really build if no one is engaging at all publicly. That's going to be a tough one. And as much as I wanted to fight that reality, I couldn't. That was just the truth. Nobody wanted to engage with it publicly. And I understand that dreams are sacred space. And it's tough to sort of let those things go in the world. If you are following me, coming to my talks, doing those things, it probably means that you want something more, or you're a really, really great family member who just decided you're going to support no matter what, But if you're one of those people that shows up for these things, it does sort of claim that maybe you're looking for more. I don't write books that are like, well, we can do dreams and then eventually we'll go after them. This is a call to arms. We are saving our lives. This title does not give you any second thought about whether or not this is a dramatically themed book. This is real. The death of a dream. Whoa, what is this lady about? The saving of a soul? Oof. Seems so extreme, so dramatic, so ridiculous. And it is. We're not messing around. If you come to my thing, I'm going to ask you probably very directly, and you may not be ready to say what that is, and that's okay. I will also hand you a card with my email if that's easier. But I will ask, and you can feel free to ask about my journey. And yesterday I did a book talk in the town that I live in, an author talk, and it was my first time that I didn't use a slide deck. Usually I do, because that just helps me kind of remember how to propel thought. And I wanted to see if I could do this all from memory, if I could remember the rhythm of this talk. And I did. And it was really great. And someone said later, Oh, that was just so great. I really loved the reading. I loved kind of the personal storytelling of where you are today from where you started, which was with this book. I really loved that. And I said, "Yep, it's so much easier because it's not a script. This is just my storyline. This is all one big story that I guess I decided was going to belong to other people, was going to make its way into the world in this very public, beautiful display." And I love that. I have loved kind of ushering this book back into the world. I have loved experiencing people experience the conversation, the discussion, the questions. I have loved all of that. And that's the biggest piece, is sort of owning that truth, which is definitely what we are building ourselves, working ourselves into. Owning the truth of where we go from here. Owning the truth of this story, the reality that life happens in there, the reality that maybe people just need more access to light. Maybe the books really aren't enough. And I've been wanting to put these groups together, and I've been wanting to do all of this. And I would say to myself, if you wanted to, you would. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, you've been wanting to. And I have given myself a polite pass. Like, you got to recalibrate your life. You got to figure some things out. You know, when I came back from the accident, really, I've only been working about 3 months. We had 3 children's books that we needed to get out. We had my book that needs to get out. We have a romance novel that needs to get out. I'm still running a store full time myself. After the accident, I don't know, sending my kids to school was sort of a tragic existence, and it was okay when I was sick, because I really just needed time to recover, and I was home. I was going to appointments all of the time. I just had a ton of back and forth, and they couldn't have been with me. And then when we had our summer, when I was really feeling much better, I just realized how much I long for them in my life, how I stopped feeling involved, and how much more I wanted them to be a part of all of this. And eventually, and probably a very soon eventually, I'll want to be able to take them with me. I took my youngest to my book fair on Sunday. She made drinks. She interacted with people. It was really beautiful. And both of them came to my author talk last night. They made drinks. They interacted with people. It was really beautiful. They are women of the world. They are interacting with the reality that will be their life, that already is their life. You're not interacting with peers for very long. Most of the time, you're working with a lot of different generations of people. And I love being able to introduce them to that. I love making that world their day-to-day presence. And so I brought them with me. We've been figuring out homeschool. over the last 2 months, that is a whole new world of balance for me, balance with the business, balance with writing, balance with all the things, and we're figuring that out. And I had given up for such a long time, given myself grace through the injury, which is a very important thing. But we had to get back on track. We could still finish these things. And I have been experiencing just how necessary light is and how much our world is really craving or begging for that. And I don't know that I'm the light of people's lives or not, but I do know that I am going to be here working too, that no matter what you go after, I'm going to be going after it right alongside of you. The truth of the reality that I have a hard time giving up. I don't quit. I don't believe that there is a good instance for quitting. I can always figure this out, and I love being able to do that. I love being able to apply different strategies and understand things in a whole different way. And so there have been so many breakthrough moments over the past year that have brought me closer to my truest self, that have brought me just, I think, inevitably where I need to be, where I am putting my work out, where I am focused on that. And yes, the shop and the publishing company, but like also Hannah Nuss, also her kind of developing and growing and owning this existence. And owning the truth that, yes, it has been a 7-year journey. We will cap kind of the start of 7 years. We're almost at 7.5. And that has been a hard-fought path. I had a lot of questions on that. I had some questions that my husband, who was in the audience, certainly wasn't expecting, because there were questions about how you get your spouse to support such a wild redirection. And I don't know, for a second, I'm like, here, take the mic. I think more than anything, he could feel shifts and changes in who I was, a lot less anxious, a lot less depressed, way less highs and lows. And so even though I wasn't my normal, productive, wonderful, bringing in a salary self, I think he stuck to, this is better. I don't know. He didn't have a high expectation, obviously, because this is better. Wasn't that much better, but it was definitely a better human, a better Hannah, for sure. And so, how did I get him to support it? I think, bottom line, he probably married me because I was kind of this big dreamer, we can do it type of person. I think we both married each other because we could see that we would bring that out in one another. We believed in the bigness of the person that we committed to in the beginning. And even though both of us certainly got lost in how to navigate that as an adult, I think we both stuck to that truth, that knowing, that beginning knowing that this person was going to make me better. And he was there when I was really at my worst. And I said, we had some dark days. And he was like, "Did we?" I said, "Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful that you don't remember them, but certainly we did." I mean, having your spouse take on as the primary of all things when you were pretty much splitting all of the duties as assigned, I think is a really big ask. And I wasn't just asking for that. I wasn't asking to be a homemaker. I was asking for these big, audacious dreams that I was going to be splashing all over the internet. I mean, this is sick to your stomach type of stuff. Hannah's not saying and laying out that she wants a black SUV now instead of a white one. Like, that's not the dream anymore. The dream is she wants to write New York Times best-selling books. Blech. She wants to speak on huge stages that we currently watch on YouTube. Like, what? Hold on, Hannah Banana. Let's slow it down. This is all too wild. And he probably thought that, but certainly never said it out loud. And over time, I could feel myself kind of making my way to that truth. And now to be putting it out there, to be having these conversations with people and seeing the impact of the work firsthand, and seeing and being asked for more repetition with the work that I do, which hopefully y'all are here listening to this, because this is repetitive. This is 5 days a week. Soon to be 6 when we add in the interviews. This is meant to be that intense because I totally get how hard it is to stay out of that frickin' hole. Man, especially when you're going through something like this. And for me, it was the death of a dream. And I think that the death of a dream comes in so many different sizes and shapes. I've talked to people who are going into retirement. They've only been this one thing for this amount of time. And how do they kind of reimagine, re-envision a life for themselves? How do they do that? Where do they go from here? I've talked to people who had a similar experience with their athletic dreams kind of dying. They had worked on that for such a long time to only see it kind of fall and falter. And like, who am I now? How do I become something new? That might be the question. I have talked to people who are wanting a major life change. Maybe they're going to change their career of 50 years. Maybe they're going to, maybe 30 would be the more appropriate number, 20, 10. They're wanting to change their lives in some way. They're wanting to pursue something bigger than what they're doing right now. And somehow this book found them. And when I said that, you know, this book is no literary art piece, I feel like that matters. And at the same time, it matters not. The message is what matters. The connection of that. People, hopefully, will indulge my mistakes and understand that this is just the first work, the first writing. I didn't know what to do, how to do it. And it stands as a proof point that most importantly, you put the work out there. You can work through a mess. You'll be fine. Keep putting it out there. Keep helping people understand. I love helping people understand that this work is flawed. You are throwing it out there before you're ready. You almost have to. This is the step into the yellow, right? We can get in this cycle of life, and this is one of the first workshops that I want to bring to life, okay? we can get caught into these cycles of life. I believe that they are chakral, that the phases, which I talk about in my first book, because I thought they were just phases that I had identified, I now understand that they are the chakras, which makes, even though I did not have this realization before, which makes my colored books make the most sense. The rhythm. For me, the rhythm always looked like this, and this is sort of how I described it in the first book. I would have fits of passion or rage. I would tear something apart and I would start something new. Maybe a new job, maybe a new volunteering opportunity, maybe something. But whatever I was doing, it was not good enough and I needed to rip it all down. Okay? Then I would get kind of comfortable, secure, understanding what I was doing. And as soon as I did that, I would unlock my creativity and I would bring my genius to the table and I would speak things into existence and I would, get to see these things created. And then I would sort of move into that ego space where I start to feel kind of resentful and jealous and all these things that I need to not feel about my work in order to move to the next level. But because it became an ego trip thing, the cycle would repeat. I'd go back down, needing to resecure, needing to reroute because I had just ripped everything apart because my ego was saying, well, that was your idea. That was your creativity. What are you doing? You're just kind of sitting here on the sideline, putting suggestions into the suggestion box and fueling this whole organization. When's your shot? When are they going to realize that you're the one? When's that coming? Hey, little devil on my shoulder. That was the ego. That was the reason for repetition. Because eventually people would be like, wow, yeah, Hannah seems nice. She's smiley enough. She seems kind of kind. But if you talk to me enough, maybe over a year or two, you would realize it was a facade. That in the real conversations with Hannah, nothing like that was real. Nothing was true. And I don't know, I people start to see through you. And then it feels like I need to find something new. People have noticed that I'm not the person that they see on the inside. The truth of who I am is who I am kind of behind closed doors. And I've let too many people see that now. And we do that from ego. Mostly, I think there are other things, but mostly from ego. Because we start to question authority. We start to question whether or not we're just so focused on ourselves. We're going, everybody else is the problem. We could really do great things, but I don't have that position. I don't have that title. I don't get paid enough. I really want to, blah, 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 blah. No. Let's go. Let's get the job done. Let's find a frickin' way. And I don't want to see anyone repeat that cycle. And what does it take to not repeat that cycle? To step into the yellow brick road, to then go on the rainbow bridge, my friends, so we can get to this higher life experience, continue leveling up. Well, if we're looking at the chakras, then after the yellow, if we're going on the yellow brick road, comes green. And I think this is the great divide. Green. Yellow recycles. And we'll stay right there. Red, yellow. Red, orange, yellow, recycle. Red, orange, yellow, recycle. If we get to a non-egotistical point, we can begin to sort of transcend over into the green. This beautiful way of being, this life-giving existence where we love ourselves enough to experience the truth of the world around us, which is people are pretty great. There are some wild ones out there, but the majority of people are really great. And we love them because we have capacity to. Because we now love ourselves. And just for such a long time, I was recycling, following that pattern of recycling, because we did that with everything growing up. We recycled. We were a part of so many different things over time, and I think it just comes from that feeling of never feeling secure. And if you don't know that as your baseline, like we built that in our home, my husband and I, for ourselves, even if we didn't come from that, we were determined to build that for ourselves, for our children. And so once we had that, then everything else was possible. But because that didn't exist in my home growing up, we were constantly recycle, constantly ripping up roots, never really belonging anywhere at all, never trusting that the community would love our flaws, never trusting that there was a community that would be there for us for the long haul. Because everyone around us was rerouting, based on who brought what to the family potluck. Like, it's wild. So wild. And so we worked to build that for ourselves, but that's what we need to start working up. And some people, and this one's complicated for me because I always go back and forth. Why do some people dream big and some people dream so small? And I'm like, everyone should have big dreams. But sometimes the dream can only be security. Like that for some is a step beyond what they thought they could do. And not everyone has to dream big and write books and speak on stages and start businesses. And not everyone has the opportunity to do that. But it is also a lot of sacrifice and challenge and willpower. But I think if we were really to reflect, what is the truth of the work? The truth of the work of the Yellow Book, it is we need dreams to desire our lives. No matter what stage or age you are in life, you need something to pull you forward. We are looking for that as humans. And that's the truth of everything about that Yellow Book. Well written or not, published and polished or not. That's the beauty of it. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world.